Just put the board on the bookshelf.
It just, I don't know, I guess it doesn't need to be on the screen.
Huh?
As I say, it catches a tiny bit on the screen, but not much. Yeah. Is it on the screen?
No, huh?
I don't think it's
Yeah, it is.
necessary.
No, we just pretty much do the live
It's-
stream just to catch
Yeah.
someone who wants
Yeah.
to see somebody present and it
Which
may
I
be
watch
fair.
every one of them every year, so. Cause then we get to see when rooms work, so. Hi, good evening, come on in. You're a judge?
Yes.
Yep, where a Chromebook is?
I think so, but I don't suppose you and I can do it. Okay, say Chromebooks, we did that.
Mm-hmm. I think we're on it, Mr. Mann.
All right, dude, your presentation's already up, so down advances. Okay. You can click through and make sure. Yep, looks good.
For our judges, this is session ID 1999, Lachlan Duffield.
Maybe.
Oh, wait. Yeah,
Are we-
we have four
we have-
judges and they're
okay.
all here, so that's great. Good deal.
So these are spares.
Wonderful. And judges, you're welcome to keep the packet if you want it after the presentation, and, or you can give it back to us and we'll take care of it.
I like my icing and my exposed brick wall. Wiggins. It's weird. My room is only like a couple of feet shorter one direction and a couple of feet shorter the other direction. But there was no way to get these computers in that space. But in
This
this
room-
space, there's room
Yeah,
space.
this room seems so much bigger than
It's nuts. It's weird how just a couple of feet and like the orientation.
Mm-hmm. Just a reminder to the judges, and everyone in here, we are live streaming, so everything that you say will be heard. It's a good attitude. You can. Judges, are you ready?
My judge is ready. So, one problem I've had before was being stuck on a lake, wakeboarding behind a boat, and next thing you know, the boat motor shuts out and it decides I am still going, but the boat stops. So, for my project, I decided to research wakeboarding and figure out what it does for you and how it helps you, and for my product I decided to create a boat motor so I won't have to have that problem of being stuck anymore. Hi, my name is Lachlan Duffield and this is Turning on the Waterworks. With wakeboarding you are able to stay in shape with both mind and body. The body aspect of it is more so working out your legs, working out your core to stay balanced, getting blood flow moving, which always helps because it helps get the bad blood out and get the good blood back in with more oxygen in it. It helps with hand-eye coordination because for most of the time you are passing the rope in between one hand to the other while you're doing tricks, spins, flips, or anything like that. There are two main people who started wakeboarding. There's Tony Finnan, who created the Scurfer in 1950. He created the first Scurfer to help surfers surf without having to have the waves of the ocean. Because the people that were inland and weren't on the coast and still liked to surf whenever they went there didn't have an option to. So he decided to create the Scurfer, which is like a miniature surfboard, only about 3.5 to 4 feet in length. It's pointy at one end and it has 2 points at the end that come to a V in the middle. It's like rounded all the way down. It has 3 long fins that are in the back, which was a problem because it only let them wakeboard or wake surf in one direction. The bindings they used were taken off of parasurfers or windsurfing, which was used with a giant kite-like parachute, and they were strapped into a surfboard or an object like that. Hugh O'Brien, a little after, I'd say about a year or two after Tony created the Scurfer, he created the first hyperlight wakeboard. He fixed the problems that Tony's had, which was you were only able to use it one way. You couldn't do 180s, which is turning halfway around. You could only do like 360s and increments of 360, which is turning all the way around either once or multiple times. He created a rectangle style board that was rounded in the middle, not rounded, but a little wider in the middle, and it had something called rocker, which made the middle lower than the rest and the sides were up, so when you were spinning on it in the water, it wouldn't catch an edge and make you fall forward or backwards. He also fixed the buoyancy problem. Tony had a board that was way too buoyant, and it was hard to get up on because to wakeboard you have to have the board flat in the water with the water level about 75% of the way up, and while the boat pulls you, the pressure from that water pushing on the board helps you get on top of the water. And they also created new bindings, which were, instead of just elastic straps that you slip your feet in and out of, which most of the time required baby oil or dish soap or something along the lines of that, which was very common back then. They decided to create more like snowboarding boots, which are boots that either, well, snowboarding boots specifically, you take out of the bindings every time you are done snowboarding. But wakeboarding, they decided instead of having to take the boot completely off, you can also have the option to have the boot permanently attached to the wakeboard, so you just take your foot out. That's more so what I prefer. I prefer the boots that are always attached, but there's always options for other people. I was having problems with wakeboarding because I didn't have my own boat. I had friends that had boats, and every time we would go wakeboarding or go to the lake to go fishing or swimming, we wouldn't have enough for me to bring my whole family. So I decided I was going to make my own boat motor and have my own boat so I can take my family down there with me when I go. I found this motor or this one in specific, in my buddy's garage that has been sitting there in the corner for who knows how long. It's a cruise and carry 2.7 horsepower motor. It's about 25 pounds. When I first got it, I thought the problems it was going to have were nowhere near as much as what I actually did have with it. Of course. I expected bad spark plug, needed some new fuel lines, and maybe a little tune-up to the cylinder, but it actually needed a lot more. It needed a reed valve, which is this one here on the bottom. So every time it goes up, gas and air would go in the bottom, and when it went down, it would circulate in there, it'd go back up, and then come back down, and the gas would get into the cylinder and then light at the top. And then, yes, the fuel line was all corroded. I did have to replace that, but the petcock, which is right here, it's the part that turns on and off the gas, was old and clogged. It was nasty. It had what looked like old leaves that were like disintegrated in the gas wrapped around the little filter that was on it. I also had problems with the exhaust. The exhaust was filled with mud because I don't know how it got there. It was filled with mud. Yeah. And whenever I went to start it, it would kind of sound like it would start, but at the same time it wouldn't because there was no exhaust fumes coming out the back. So I tried to start it one day thinking it might have just been bad one day. No, it put a hole in the exhaust right here. It blew a hole through that. So once I realized it's probably clogged with something, I cleaned it out, and then when cleaning it out, I found out that there was not enough back pressure to close the exhaust valve. So they would have to, so it wasn't able to get enough compression to make the cylinder work properly, to get the gas all combined. So I had to pinch the end of it off, not off, but pinch it so it had some more back pressure. Another problem I had was with the carburetor. It was old. Pieces inside of it were actually breaking off because they were old plasticky pieces. So I had to redo the carburetor, rebuild it, and it was really hard to find a carb rebuild kit because it's so old. I was only ever able to find one of them on eBay. Another problem was the actual shaft that went from the bottom of the motor to the propeller was twisted and was broke, so I had to get that and replace that. And while I was in there, I also replaced the clutch for the prop, so you just pull this, it spins it, and then while the motor's running, and then you can close that and it stops spinning. So, wrong way. Now I can go down with my own boat motor and not have to borrow anybody's boat or motor, even though my boat is sitting at the bottom of a pond right now. I can go down to the lake, or don't have to go all the way down to North Fork. I can go to Sims Valley or a river around here because it is within the horsepower requirements to be on a river. I can go fishing, swim, maybe even go camping if I want to, bring all the stuff on my boat. And now, even if we do get stuck in the middle of a lake because of the boat motor not working and we're having to paddle back to shore, we'll at least have this on board to get us back to shore. Do my judges have any questions?
How much money did you put into it?
I didn't put much, but it was still a decent amount, around $125 for all the parts.
And do you know what year the motor is?
No.
Just really old?
Yeah.
Just old, yeah.
How much time did it take to do it?
It took me only 2 days to do the work, but to get the parts it took me 2 weeks.
Did you know the workings of this motor before you started, or did you learn a whole lot?
Yes and no. I've been in small engines classes, but we've never had a boat motor like this to bring in and work on.
Do you ever want to work on another one?
I mean, if it's mine, yes, and if I'm getting paid enough, yes.
But not for a career?
No.
No.
And then there's my works cited.
Great job, though.
Thank you.
Good job.
So do they bring outboard motors in for
Small
spots sometimes?
They bring
Bigger boat motors, not small.
You want me to bring that back to the smart meter?
What are you supposed to do with it?
I'll bring it back to the smart meter. I'll have my mom bring it.
Battery, I can.
Huh? Yeah.
We got bottle gas. We just stay there.
Yes, they need to do.
But yet again, don't want to kill people. Come on, you grab the board.
Yeah, I can do it.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Did a great job.
You're so welcome.
Too heavy. Yeah.
Ish, yeah.
Now she's been to 2 computers and it won't let her. Yeah. For some reason it won't let her choose.
Don't click on the dot, click on the square that it's in.
Ah, there you have it.
I
Thank
think,
you.
sorry, I just realized what you were trying to do.
you.
Yeah, I tried that too.
I'm just telling you straight up,
Yeah.
that is nowhere in my notes about the Chromebook.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Great.
Go ahead and sit up and get yourself comfortable.
Kind of confused on where to put this.
They've been on the,
It's up to
Oh,
you,
yeah.
but I think it, because people are gonna look and think, well, you're gonna show the shit rather than that so much.
Just like that. The place where you have the Chromebook set up is where I did this. Which I think it's all the same. It wasn't in this room.
Okay, thank you.
She said there was gonna be a table to put the
Want to keep your packet? It's
Oh,
fine.
you want to?
do, I'll give you these.
You have blankets.
Yep, keep your packet.
I got a little comfy table.
I know. No, yeah, I read them earlier today, so.
Bath That's why they wanted you to have a table.
Well, she told me it was for Kyle,
Oh.
Glenn's race car,
Uh-huh.
and he said, I'll just put it on this table right here. But it's apparently a multifunctional table.
Looks like we have the same judges for the next presentation. This is session 2066, Mackenzie Wilbanks.
So do we click here to start over, or
Mhm.
Yes.
how do we go to the next, is this where we go to the next one?
Yes,
Okay.
and then there you go.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I'll get it for you. Oh, actually, it's right there. You're familiar with how that one works, right?
so. You just press down.
Yep. And if you accidentally advance your slide, didn't mean to, you can press up to take you back.
Okay.
If you get real hung up, I'll put you back where you want to be.
Okay, that sounds good.
You can roll that other one out there. About there. What did you expect? Everybody able to get into the scoring thing? Okay, awesome. Professionals. I shouldn't even have to ask, right? Okay, Mackenzie, whenever you're ready.
Alright,
They ask us to make sure everyone stays on the tape. He just came and
Okay.
told me that.
alright, so they don't want us to go around the board?
He said have them stay on the tape. I don't know, you just.
You do you, though.
Well,
I
like,
think they probably want you to stay on camera, but you'll be
That's
on
why.
camera.
well,
It's for
like,
the camera.
yeah, she told us to, when we're doing our title slide, to be in the front and then
I would
shift
do what I was told to
over. Okay,
do.
Okay.
Don't you agree, Mr.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just whatever feels comfortable.
Whatever,
and natural
yeah.
for you.
Well,
That's what I would do.
I'm comfortable here.
Yeah.
Okay. Are my judges ready? Since the year 2004, 12.5% of births were preterm. Before I get any further, I'd like to ask my judges a question. Do any of you guys know what a preterm birth is?
I read your paper.
Dang, that's cool. Okay, so for the ones that do and do not know what a preterm birth is, a preterm birth is a birth that happens at least 34 weeks before gestation. Gestation is the same term as pregnancy, so I wanted to write about premature babies not only for myself but for others. I wanted to educate myself more on the topic because I didn't know what to expect from when I was in nursing school. So I knew what to write about, but the question was, what do I actually do for my product itself? So I got to thinking with my mom. She's like, we'll do something that you enjoy and that can help others. So this led me to Crocheting Blankets. Hi, my name is Mackenzie Wilbanks, and this is Crocheting for the Future Generations. So in any premature birth, there can or sometimes there's not complications. So just because one baby has complications doesn't mean that this one's going to have it too. It's not pick and choose, it kind of just happens. So one of the first complications a baby can have is breathing problems. And what I mean by breathing problems, it can be a simple blockage in the airways or that lungs are filled with something other than air. And the next is heart problems. And this happens a lot more than it is actually shown. It's where there is a hole in the heart, and sometimes it just folds over on itself, but in most cases it goes unnoticed. But when it does get noticed, a doctor will have to go in there, put a suture in, and then it's normally fine. And the next is immune system problems. These babies are so compromised that when they come out and when they're in the NICU, they have to be put in these special units. And if somebody comes in sick, and they're going to get the baby sick, and whenever they get sick, they get about 10 times more sicker. And the next is blood problems. And what I mean by blood problems is anemia, which is anemia is a condition where the baby has too much red blood cells, and then also there is newborn jaundice. And this is when the baby comes out a little discolored, maybe even a yellow color. And the next is short term. So cerebral palsy is a motor disorder that can affect walking, talking, or even moving. And the next would be impaired learning. What I mean by impaired learning is that a baby can learn at a different rate than others. This could be a baby learns slower or even learns faster than a normal baby. The next is behavioral and psychological problems. So if a baby is preterm, they can have problems like lashing out to a mother, a father, a teacher, or even siblings. This happens in much cases, and it also happens with normal babies as well. The next is chronic health problems. Because these babies are so compromised, they're going to have weaker immune systems that their body's not going to keep them as well nourished and safe as compared to a normal baby. Some of the risk factors for a preterm birth include drug and alcohol abuse. It has been found that using drugs and alcohol, there is going to be an increased risk of preterm birth, stillbirth, miscarriages, and even birth defects. And the next is preeclampsia and eclampsia. And this is a high blood pressure disorder that happens to mothers when they are in term. And the next would be vaginal infections. And this can be anywhere from syphilis, UTIs, or herpes. The next would be twin pregnancies. It has been found that if a mother was to have a twin pregnancy, there is a higher rate for preterm birth compared to a normal birth. And this is because one of the babies is going to get more nourishment than the other, causing this one to be slightly weaker and not as strong as the other one. So there's ways to prevent a preterm birth. Just as in anything, And the first is a progesterone supplement. This supplement is taken before or even during the term, and this has been proven to slightly reduce the risk. And the next is a cervical cerclage. This is when a doctor will go in and put a stitch in the cervix. This stitch will provide support to the uterus, and it will keep the baby from coming out too early. So whenever the mother is ready to deliver her baby, the doctor will go up in there, take the stitch out, and then she's ready to deliver her baby, hopefully a healthy baby. The next is the HPV vaccine. Since this vaccine has came out, there has been a slight decrease in preterm birth. Some of the leading causes of preterm birth include inadequate prenatal care. What I mean by inadequate prenatal care is simply going to Walgreens or Walmart and picking up prenatal vitamins, or even going to your doctor and getting the vitamins that you need, especially for your body. The next would be complications of the placenta. If something is wrong with your placenta, something is probably going to be wrong with your baby as well. Your baby is with this placenta for 9 months of its life. The placenta nourishes your baby, it gives your baby food, it gives your baby everything it needs. So if something's wrong with it, something is probably going to be wrong with your baby as well. And the next is inadequate nutrition. If you're not giving yourself the proper nutrition that you need to support your body, your baby's not going to have the proper nutrition it needs. So when your baby isn't getting the proper nutrition, it's going to start taking all the vitamins that you need for your body, and this is getting taken out of bones and out of teeth. This has been found that mothers start to lose their teeth after pregnancy because the baby took all the nourishment from the mother's body parts that it needed. So if you give yourself the proper nutrition that you need, your baby needs, everything's going to be fine. And the next is internal use of illegal substances. If you're taking drugs, something's going to be wrong with your baby as well. If you're addicted to drugs, your baby's going to be addicted as well. After they come out, these babies are so dependent on these drugs that they're not normal, so they're going to have to come off these drugs as if you are coming off the drugs as well. So because of this, I wanted to do something to help not only the babies, but the mothers as well. And for my project, I decided to crochet 4 baby blankets and donate them to Texas County Memorial Hospital. So why did I decide to do my project? So I love to crochet. I crochet when I'm nervous, I crochet when I have nothing to do, and I learned to crochet about 2 years ago in Bear Time here at Willow Springs High School. So I wanted to include something that I love doing that can also help the babies, and I found that this would be the smartest idea to do. Next would be to help others. So helping others has been my thing. I love to help people, even if it's like helping a woman carry her groceries out to her car, or helping my dad pick up the sticks in the lawn. I love to help others, and I think people should help others more often than they do. Okay, that's what's up. Okay, so here in this first image, these are all 4 of the blankets laid out. There's a blue one, a colored one. I can show them too if you guys want. So here's this blue one, blue and gray one. So it's pretty big. Then we have this pink one. They're a little wet because of the rain. So, and then we have this other blue one. Very stretchy. Okay, here's all of them in picture. So some of the challenges I face include learning new patterns. When I started doing this, I only knew about 2 patterns, so I had to go on YouTube, I went and found articles, and most of the time I found out that I would go back to what I had been doing. So I had to pull out many rows of my project and try to start over, which I found out doing this, I had restarted so many times and I was using up so many times, I had to stick with it and go with it. So that's what I did. I just kept going at it until I finally got to a finished product. And the next would be yarn. So I didn't have the yarn on that big wool, thick blanket. The yarn started to shrink in the middle. And so I kept pulling it out, trying to fix it, but nothing really would fix it. So I'm gonna say it's the yarn because I was doing everything right. So at this point, I had to just stick with it and go with it. The next would be planning. I didn't have the best planning process, so if I could do this again, I would definitely have a better planning process. Like one example would be I only thought I was going to need 1 thing of yarn. And when I went to go back to get a second thing of yarn, there wasn't any. And then I went to the next one, there wasn't any either. And then I went to go order online, and there wasn't any as well. So ever since COVID, everything has been kind of shortened back. So I had to wait for this, and if I had a better planning process, I would have bought two, and I would have got more done, I believe, and I would have got done in time, and I probably wouldn't have stressed about it as well, like I did many times. There's been challenges in my product, and there has also been good learning experience. I challenged myself to learn new things and also to help these babies at the hospital. I think if everybody just took a chance and tried something new, I feel like we could all decrease the risk of preterm birth. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
You had 4 blankets and there's
Yeah,
3 here.
one was soaking wet out of my car, and I didn't want to bring it in.
I was wondering if you
Yeah,
had already
it was-
given it away.
Yeah, I can show it to you.
It looked like it had.
Yeah, it was this little pink one,
Polka
but it
dots,
was soaking
yeah.
wet. I was like,
Uh-huh.
right.
Yeah.
Do you still plan to crochet?
Yeah, I love to crochet, so you'll probably find me doing it at my house when I get back. So
Do you still plan to crochet and donate to
yeah,
the hospital?
I think so. I think so.
That's really neat.
Thank you. Any more questions?
You're going to go into the medical profession, or you're going to be an OB nurse? Or
Well, I've been thinking about it. I'm not completely sure, but I feel like doing this is going to help me if I do decide to go into that field. So, is there any more questions?
Do you want to crochet anything besides blankets?
I want to learn, just as you were saying, to crochet baby like hats. I think that'd be super cool. Or maybe baby booties.
Mhm.
Maybe a blanket for myself or Ella. Is that all? Thank you, judges. My face is so red. I can feel it. The stutter's so bad. Yeah, they're all wet, but that one's bad. Right, thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
I'm sure there's like a picture on camera. Not every room, like originally we're gonna have a camera for this though. And they're really gonna put on all the PC. You can just run it off on my computers and. Sorry, that's got something to do. Okay. No. They need every advantage. They
Yeah,
can
I agree.
get.
Do they need another judge in here? Because I thought I was on the schedule, but I'm not.
They've actually got me doing this one, so, which is fine. I don't know if it would let you judge it.
I wonder, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're not on there.
No.
Yeah, session ID 2032, Dakota McNelly.
Oh,
I'm gonna say that right. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. Right.
Mm-hmm. This one's already up and going.
It's ready.
so that might be- Plus, you can watch the presentation while you watch the
That's kinda
presentation.
cool, actually.
It's meta. It's right there in your face. Yeah, they were trying to get somebody, and they were trying to get a position. I was like, couldn't you just run off on the computer? When it's on the ceiling, you can't. It's a weird angle. Couldn't come in where he wanted.
Mr. Knapp,
Yes,
are
ma'am.
you going to be judging over there next to Mrs. Knapp? Or are you
Well-
going to judge here?
I had it set right there in case I needed to do something.
Okay.
But I can move.
Okay, perfect. Sure.
I actually don't mind to just put it up there at the desk too. I can do it. Oh, okay.
No, we're good.
Problem solved. I think they will.
How are you?
During the presentation.
Just a reminder, we are live streaming, and whatever you say is being recorded and can be heard. This is Dakota McNelly, session ID 2032.
Nobody else did. Still got a couple minutes if you want, but I think everybody's in the room.
The judges are here. Do you need anything else? Everything good?
Fine with me? Yeah, we can start early.
Is everyone here that you want here, and all of your people with you? Whenever you're ready.
Are my judges ready? When you were young and your creativity was at its peak, most of you probably played with something along the lines of Legos or dinosaurs or dolls. This is because these things typically connect with you in a way that it won't connect with somebody else. It will take you to a place that they can't go. For instance, if you're playing with dinosaurs, it could take you to Jurassic Park or something along the lines of that. If you're playing with dolls, you could become a princess or a prince. If you're playing with Legos, you could become a construction worker and build the biggest building anyone's ever seen. For me, it was building my fishing lures. When it comes to building your fishing lures, you have to dig down and really fish for your creativity, the creative side of you, and figure out what you want and what makes the best lure to you. Many people will often ask, what does creativity do for me or for you? And a lot of people don't understand that it helps encourage you to explore new ideas and new concepts, as well as replaces the negativity in your life by making you a more person and living a healthier life by being able to connect with others through your creativity. Creativity affects the mental health and the way that you carry yourself in many ways, and when your creativity is in play, you tend to carry yourself a little higher and walk with a meaning. Things like writing, drawing, and doodling, or even embroidering can help improve your creativity and help you make friends and create new bonds with people you may not have typically connected with or talked to. When you create something like I did with my fishing lures, it means a little more to you than just going out and buying it. You gain a connection with it, and it just helps you realize that you can make a difference and you can make something that somebody else might want to use, or they might take you as inspiration and travel their own path along these lines. Creativity starts at a very young age, and it starts when you're born. Your brain automatically starts trying to figure out ways to manipulate things and maneuver your hands and feet and bones, or arms and legs. You build onto it as you're young with the Legos and the dinosaurs and the dolls. You can lose it to a certain extent. You won't lose it completely because it's part of your brain. You will lose a good portion of it because if you don't practice it, it's just like any other thing. If you don't practice your writing, you'll lose it to an extent. If you're not encouraged by your peers or your family or your teachers to use this, it can kind of put you in a spot where you're just kind of there for the grade, or you're just there to be there because you have to. Whenever your teachers and parents encourage you to use your creativity, it kind of makes you feel special and that you have a purpose. People also ask, why should you be creative? And it's pretty simple to get it to that. It encourages a healthy, it encourages a more positive and healthy mental state by, again, putting you in a spot where you can communicate with people that you wouldn't typically communicate with or talk to, and helps improve your brain function by expanding your brain with the creativity, being able to grow as a person and as a whole with your peers. It helps define who you are. This is one of the most important things in our generation, and in 2022, people are struggling with defining who you are and what you want to be. And with the lures, I feel like it helped really tell me that I should keep doing this, and this should maybe be a future career for me. Problems with lacking creativity comes with a lot of complaining and lack of a positive outlook on life. This is pretty much because when you're not focusing on trying to create something, your brain's figuring out other things to complain about or wrap its head around. It also connects you with depression. Depression is something very serious and is at an all-time high right now with the younger generations. This is because your brain isn't getting the creative side of drawing and things like that, where it can express who it is. It's kind of just locking itself down and causing you to be in a hole. It also gives you trouble expressing who you are. And when you draw something or you make something, you really put who you are into it and express what you do as a person. And this will help you connect with people and make friends that you may not have started talking to in the first place because you didn't know their interests either. Like I said, it helps you connect with people, and that's probably one of the most important things as a high school student, is really getting the opportunity to connect with as many people as possible and build bonds with people that you may not have ever tried to without you. My product is fishing lures, and I made these with different varieties and sizes and shapes, all to serve a certain purpose, a different purpose. They were all carved with different techniques and different ideas and set to make them. With the black one here, it was made to dive a little deeper in the water to try and get those fish that just aren't happy with the sunlight that day. With the green one, these are the sunbathers. They like to be on the top, they're to be in the lily pads and just have a nice day. This white one here with the pink and white plastic ends is to resemble a ball of bait, because if you're going to eat a dinner, I think you'd rather have a full meal than just a hot dog. So that helps there. And the top one here is to just kind of get a all around. It can go deep, it can stay shallow, it just depends on how fast you want to bring it in. Steps to make the lure takes a considerably long time. You have to pick a good wood. You don't want to pick something that's got a lot of knots in it, or it's too soft, because if it's too soft it's easy to break or crush, and you don't want to do that. Then you have to brainstorm and get creative and dig down and figure out what you want. Once you do this, you then draw it onto your piece of wood and take a bandsaw here to cut out the excess wood that is too much to sand down. Once you cut it off, you can then use the belt sander here and this disc sander here to get those fine edges down and really narrow down your bait to the exact width that you want. We used sandpaper to do any fine sanding and rounding. We used the baking soda and super glue to solidify any holes or accidental chippings that we might have broken off of. It solidifies kind of like concrete, so it's really hard and you can sand it down and it will go smooth. We used wire to make our hooks, our hook slots and our line ties along with the long wire pieces that connect the white and pink plastics there. We used the drill to make the line ties and stuff. We fold the wire in half and put it in a vice grip, and then you can turn it on and it'll kind of make the wire wrap up and make a nice line. We then used paintbrushes and paint and painted them. With the brown one in the middle, we used a wood stain instead to try and give it a different look than the rest of them. Problems I faced is painting, balancing, and weight distribution. I'm not a very good painter, so it took some trial and error and had to restart a couple times and wipe off some of the paint spots. With the green one, that was my first one, and it turned out okay, but I wish I could have done a little better. With the airbrush up on the top left, it has a bowl that you can put the paint in, and it will put an even coat across the whole base so you won't get the streaks and the lines, and it will cover every part of it and you won't miss any gaps. Where with the paintbrushes you can lose a paintbrush, you can lose a hair in there and not notice it, or get streaks or clumps. With the balancing, we used lead weights, and with the brown one, we actually used a wood burning tool to melt the weights. That was the first time we did it with that, and it turned out pretty successful. And it was hard to get it all to balance in the water where it wasn't leaning over too far one way or the other and causing it to be too front heavy or too back heavy. You want it to be balanced when it lays on the water. Same with the weight distribution, getting it to be even, the wood even on one side and not too shallow on the other, keeping it as symmetrical as possible. I really had a problem with it. Taking too much wood off of one side with the sander and having to go back and make the whole bait more narrow, because you can't just replace the wood there. You gotta go back and re-sand everything down. In conclusion, creativity is probably one of the most important things that our generation is lacking, and I feel like if we encourage our students and our peers to be more creative, we could have a better world in itself. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
Did you put any of them in the water?
I have put them in a water tank to make sure they're floating right. I just haven't had the chance to go fishing with them yet.
Have you cast with them yet?
I have not.
You have
I don't
not
have my,
tested out?
I don't have my fishing license, so it's
Gotcha.
better safe than sorry to go.
Did you put some sort of finishing coat? Clear
Yes,
coat?
I dipped all of them in a clear coat. With the brown one, I used a water-based clear coat, and the other ones, I used a regular, everyday polyurethane clear coat.
Did you say how long it took to make them?
Um, working on them, I worked on them almost every other day for about an hour and 45 minutes. Took me about 3 weeks to make some, a little longer for some of the other ones. Waiting for the clear coat to dry or the paint to dry. I might get 2 coats of the paint on there, and that might take up all class, depending on the conditions in the way or in the wood shop room. Paint doesn't dry too fast when it's cold, so we gotta wait for the next day to be able to work on it again. So,
Do you think
roughly
you'll make any
3
more?
weeks. I think when I finally get the money to be able to afford all the tools and things, I will be possibly making a YouTube channel about it and trying to start a career there.
You remember what species of wood you used in your lures there?
I think most of them are oak. It's just a safe hardwood.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to carve, but it stays pretty good all the way around.
I don't have a question and I'm not a judge, but I just want to say some of them are really pretty. They're almost too pretty to go fishing with.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to go fishing with them before senior project night and lose one or something.
Oh,
like
that
that.
would
That'd been a
not be
bummer.
I'm not big.
Good job.
I just wanted to see it. Can I?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen. What kind of fish would you catch with that?
Probably a large mouth bass. Probably attack that.
Isn't that? That is gorgeous.
Look how much little ringweed.
Yeah, he's pretty cool too. You didn't like the way he turned out the paint, but he's looks cool.
I think
Awesome.
the belly just looks like a cow, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to.
Fish are pretty dumb,
Good.
so
Yeah.
it's probably good.
I mean, if they're gonna bite a piece of wood, I mean, they can't be too
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah, it's like a little sculpture, isn't it?
Yes, I just think that is so cool.
I finished that one today.
Did you?
I finished it just
You
in.
know what, just in the nick of time, that's all that matters. That's really cool.
So
Really neat to cut
with this piece here, I ran out of super glue, so the baking soda kind of clumped up and ended up falling off. So.
Awesome.
I don't see that as a
Cool, good job, really good job.
detriment to it at all. Pretty cool, man.
Yeah, very neat.
I appreciate it. Yeah, but this is nice.
Thank you, you too.
Well, Stacy will be.
Yeah.
Went ahead and told Brendan and Tiffany that.
Oh, thank you, appreciate it. That's nice, I appreciate it.
Kind of bummed I won't get to see both of us. Brendan would be interesting.
Uh-huh.
Where do you guys want this so you can see it?
This table was only
Yeah,
here for
that's-
some fishing lures last time.
You're welcome to keep the
I'd
packet
say
if you
wherever
want it. Do you
you
want it?
like.
Because I also have a small object to go with it.
Use the
Mhm.
board right
So-
there.
I wonder if you should just maybe put it like here, and we can kind of put your, yeah, let's put the board back on the shelf there. Yeah, I would just set it right in there. So do you put a solar?
Just a reminder that we are live streaming, so what you say is being recorded. You
I
can
didn't know what your product did. You could. That's pretty cool, dude. Where'd you get your sidewalk?
The whole case is King's one, so we can just have it on our house.
Told you. Awesome. Alright. Well, unfortunately, this is the little gap I get from meal breaks. I don't get to see your presentation, but this should be cool. Yeah, David. Well, we need a solar powered water heater. You can set yourself back on the counter if you want. Or on top of the glow forge, that's fine.
So if we're waiting on one judge. Judges, this is session 2002, Brendan Ferguson. There he is.
Hey, I'm,
Good, how are you?
we wanna,
Need anything?
as long as everyone can see what I got set up.
Okay, did you want to try to cook that next one? Okay.
Just a couple of minutes. Nothing like those last couple minutes to get your nerves, you know, really going.
Yeah, yeah. Are my judges ready? In 2021, a winter storm hit the state of Texas, leaving thousands without power. One of these people that was affected by this was an 11-year-old boy named Christian Vaughn. Christian was left within his
home without power for 2 days, which caused him to die of hypothermia. And Christian's not the only person that the American energy infrastructure has failed. Hi, my name is Brendan Ferguson, and I believe the way we produce and use energy in the United States is in massive need of reconstruction if we wish to have a prosperous future in that industry. And so with this, knowing this, I was left wondering what I could do to help solve this problem. And so I started this summer looking at things online, theorizing, trying to figure out anything I could possibly do or anything I could possibly try to help solve this problem. And I wasn't naive enough to think that me, as old as I am, with as little money as I have in the small town that I live in, could actually solve this problem, but I was willing to at least look. So the first place I had to look was where mass energy production started, which was the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution began around 1760 with the discovery of coal and its mass potential for energy. So they discovered that coal could be burnt and produce a high amount of energy, and this is what became the backbone of the Industrial Revolution with the creation of steam engines and other factories. So with all these factories popping up, they had to find a better way to get their hours extended and so they could work and be more efficient in everything that they do. So this is where the story of electricity comes in. So the first important name we see in electricity is Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was the first person to discover how we could actually generate electricity. Prior to this, the only way we could study electricity was through lightning, which, due to its fatal nature, we couldn't really study. He discovered that if you rub two pieces of glass together, you can actually create a small electric current. This led him to create his glass wheel, which he could spin to create a continuous current at any time. And this discovery was followed by his invention of the Leyden jar, which was a primitive version of the battery. It looked like a mason jar that could store energy. Following this, the next name we see is Michael Faraday. Michael Faraday discovered that if you move a magnet and a piece of copper around each other at a pretty good rate of speed, then you can actually produce a current. And this is the basis for the motors that we use today, the electric motors and the electric generators that we still use. This discovery was used by Thomas Edison in the creation of his Pearl Street plant. The Pearl Street plant was in Manhattan, and it created a direct current energy. So it was the first electric plant ever built, and he used it to provide energy to parts of Manhattan. Following this, Nikola Tesla created the alternating current engine, the alternating current motor. He was the person to discover alternating current, and this discovery was astounding, especially to people who use direct current, because alternating current had a higher capacity to move long distances and not lose its amount of energy that it was putting out. This discovery was used by George Westinghouse when he created his Niagara plant. The Niagara plant used alternating current motors so they could provide energy to places further away and at a much higher capacity, and it would be converted to direct current whenever it reaches destination, which is what we still do today. So modernly, when we look at the way we produce energy in the United States, we see that over 90% of the energy we produce here is produced by fossil fuels. And only 3% of the world's energy is produced by natural resources such as wind, solar, or hydroelectricity. And this is a huge problem in the United States for a number of reasons. The first of which is it gives other countries a huge hand in our economy. So if over 60% of our oil is imported, especially from countries in the Middle East, that means that countries in the Middle East have a 60% hold on our economy, because as you guys can see now, when the prices of oil and gas rise, so the prices of everything else. And it was a huge spike there. And the other problem is our security. So every time we buy a barrel of oil from the Middle East, we could potentially be funding a terrorist source or anything like that. And so that's not even to mention the environmental factors that go into the burning of fossil fuels and the safety that we have to consider when it comes to nature. So with all those problems that we have, what could be some of the alternatives? So one of the solutions, as has been suggested, is hydropower. And so hydropower now is only a very small part of the energy we produce in the United States. And so one of the solutions is to convert our non-hydroelectric dams into hydroelectric dams. Doing so would be a much cheaper and more efficient way than to just build new dams all over the United States. And it could increase our hydroelectric sources in the United States by up to 15%. Another commonly feared source is nuclear power. So nuclear has a very high capacity for energy output as opposed to what you put into it. And it's commonly feared because people look at events like Chernobyl and other nuclear disasters like that and are afraid of what could possibly happen if it happened here. But the reality is nuclear is actually a very safe option as long as it's handled properly and with care. And people look at Chernobyl, and that's more of a freak accident than a norm when it comes to nuclear production. And they also have concerns with nuclear environmentally. And as I mentioned earlier, nuclear is actually still very safe to the environment as long as the waste is handled properly and with care. We also have to leave room for innovation in the future. One such innovation is AirGen, which was developed at the University of Massachusetts. AirGen is a biotechnology that takes the humidity in the air and converts it into an electric current. And it does so using microfibers and a protein called geobacter. The combination of these two in the right mixture takes the humidity out of the air and converts it to a current. And so some of the applications that they had talked about for this would be to make a patch so you can keep your phone charged better at all times, to make it into a paint so you can paint your house with it and your house could run off the humidity in your own house from the paint on the walls. And so these alternatives are a very viable way we can look at our future. So as far as using the things that I've researched for my actual product, it was very helpful to know, especially some of the things that they started out with, like Michael Faraday's inventions, so I can better understand how the electric motor worked. Knowing that the more powerful the magnet and the copper, the closer they are, the more energy you can get out of it. So it's a very good way for me to figure out where I wanted to start and where I could go with it, and gain a better understanding of what I was doing. So for my product, I wanted to create a more efficient way to produce energy or to use it in a better way, in a better, safe way. And so I have over 30 hours of me trying several ideas on the internet and looking and researching and trying out these ideas, and I watched about 90% of these things fail. So it was a trial and error that I had to go through for a lot of this. And so here you can see me taking that motor over there out of this washing machine here, and I went so far as to hook it to an engine, a small engine, and see if I could get it turned fast enough to generate things. But it did work. I have over 6 hours sitting in front of a grinder for that thing to make it more powerful, and it does work in a sense, but it's not as efficient as I want it to be, so I didn't really come to my goal with it. I tried a lot of things just on the internet that you pretty much know might not work, but it was more so to prove them wrong and have a better understanding of what I was going to go with this than to actually prove they were right. And there you can actually see the time I spent on the grinder with this thing. And there I got to have some experience using a forge for this project. I was trying to make an overweight wheel to spin perpetually so I could use that energy to produce a current or for any other application. So watching all these products fail and spending a lot of time on all of them, I had to have something I could fall back on. So what I ended up falling back on with about a week left to go was this solar water heater. So the inside of the solar water heater is the black casing, and the inside has a MMA mat backing. And these all were chosen because they have a very high energy retention capacity. Put them out in the sun, they get very hot, and they hold that heat for quite a while. And so this 50-foot black water hose is laced inside of it with 2 layers between them. And we got most of it in there. You can see over here where the tubing would go in. You connect it to your water hose to fill it up. We have the tubing laced through here, come through the centerpiece here, and it goes out in this bottom so you can suspend it. It can be run by gravity. You don't have to have constant pressure pumping to make it work. And you have your method of hanging it up so you can get beneath it, the wheels can travel. And so with this thing, we found that on a day of 40-degree weather, we could get 105-degree temperature water. On a day of 50-degree weather, we can get 115-degree water. So it did accomplish the purpose of absorbing this thermal energy and efficiently converting it into warm water. So as I mentioned earlier, some of the challenges that I faced in my product was that I was doing something that hadn't really been done. I couldn't just go on the internet, go to WikiHow, and follow the steps and get what I was looking for. I had to research things, try things, and I had a limited amount of time to try to expand my knowledge in this enough to know what I was doing and make something that met my goal. And so I learned a lot through all of that. I learned a lot about how electricity works. I learned a lot about perseverance, and when something doesn't work, keep trying a new thing until something does eventually work. And so it was a very eye-opening thing to me to see how all these things worked and the time I had to invest into all of it. So through my project, I learned a lot about the way electricity works and the way that people generate electricity here in America. And I believe that for the sake of America, its economy, its security, and for individuals such as Christian Pavon, that it falls to a lot of us to seek out new ways to create electricity, new ways to use electricity, new ways to do the things that we do every day more efficiently and better to help everyone, the environment and all of us. And that's why I hope to continue looking into this and continue trying to find new ways to do that. Thank you. Do you mind judges have any questions?
I do, excuse me. So 4 degrees, 105 degree water. Black hose versus green hose, gray hose, reckon there's a different size of hose, makeup hose that probably change, or would you think it's stay pretty consistent, or color of box, color of plastic you may use over it, or?
I think the color material we used would help it get warmer faster, so like changing the hose to a green color might not be quite as high. I'm not saying that it would be way lower, but I do think the black hose did help get it to where it was at with that. And as far as hose size goes, it might change the capacity of water on the inside, so it might change how long it may take to reach that temperature, and it could change the level of temperature it gets to, but I think the color of everything that we use, it definitely helps us to get the temperature level that we did.
So I personally live on wind and solar. My house is powered by wind and solar. So I'm sitting here thinking, how would I use this personally? Is this something that you would hook to your faucet and pump through your house? Could you potentially use it to take showers, or?
Potentially, but at the moment it's more of like a camping or outdoor thing that you could use. It doesn't have quite the capacity yet to be used as an indoor level or for a large amount of water at the time, but there's even with this box alone, there's definitely more room to run more water in there and have a higher capacity for that.
How much water did you heat? I mean, did you take a shower with it? Did you take a bath?
No, I did not get the chance to do any of that, but as far as actual like gallons that it holds, I'm not entirely sure, but I know that the majority of this hose is inside it, and it will get hot, and so it'll hold whatever the water hose can hold on.
What are you gonna do with that now?
That will go to Mr. Wickens because most materials came from him. He had stuff in his shop, and that's what he used to build this. Most of the other stuff I went out and got, but with a week left, we fell back on the junk sitting in his shop.
Endothermic or exothermic reaction?
Boy,
Endo?
You could have said the other one, and everyone in here would have thought you were right, except for Mrs. Wells.
Oh yeah, but I would have felt that tomorrow when she saw me in the hallway.
really, so you think that there have been revenge by a teacher?
Yes.
This is information I need to gain here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good job, Brenda.
One more question. Could you do the same thing with a flex, like 4 or 6 inch flex hose? I mean, you probably could, I mean, same concept.
Yeah. You probably need something bigger to hold it.
Right.
And I think the more water you have in there, the longer it may take, depending on
Sure.
how
I
cold
didn't
it
know
was
if,
going in, how cold it was going out.
Plastic tubing would have how much difference there would be versus a rubber or synthetic stuff.
In all honesty, this could probably be improved by using like plexiglass for the fronting of it, but we didn't really have a lot of plexiglass lying around to be used for this. So. And this does work, it's just not really, you can't keep it at that speed long enough for it to be worth anything.
I think we're good. Thank you, Brendan. Good job.
Am I good to pack up then?
Yes.
Okay. His may take several trips.
You need help carrying something on one way.
Oh, no, I just get it all away and then we can do it from there.
He'll just get straight of water, that's it.
Judges, if you want to keep your packet, Brendan's packet, you're welcome to. If not, I'll come around and pick it up. Okay.
Well, now I can't take the jacket off. You see all the sweat stains. Thank you.
Hang on, let's do 3 of them already.
Oh, okay.
You know if you need to clip back.
I see that, I see that. I've got some extras.
Need you to eat some?
No, no, thank you.
I'm not trying to add the painting in the section, but we just started. Wow, not bad, no.
Okay. Awesome. Oh, you're fine. Thank you. No, we've got. See you later. Okay. I just want to make sure somebody will time it. So your wife could go through there. I'll let you say it. Okay, sure. Do you want me to put this? Can you go ahead? We're waiting for another judge. Judges that are here, just a reminder, we are live streaming and everything you say can be heard. This is session ID 2064, Tiffany Weber. I'll get you your packet. That's okay.
Are my judges ready? Okay. So people have the stereotype about dance that it can only benefit a small populace of the world, when in reality, it can benefit many different types of people, no matter size, height, or gender. My name is Tiffany Weber, and I feel like dancing is like dancing to a fairy tale. You're in this magical world that people will not understand other than in your group. And there's other dancers who understand this as well, such as a girl named Morgan. Morgan was a 13-year-old girl who suffered from Down syndrome, who her mother wanted to get her to dance to help her socially interact. And when she first joined, she was very uncomfortable in that new environment with all the new surroundings and new people. And she had problems staying on task because she just couldn't really focus on all of it. And so after the first lesson, her mother, her dance teacher, and Morgan herself all had a meeting to see what they could do to benefit her and the rest of the class. Just a few months later, she was already starting to memorize choreography steps, which is wonderful. And a few years down the line, she had all of her dance friends, every single person she danced with at her 16th birthday. And that bond was just so strong. And her ability to stay on task improved substantially. And through Morgan, we're able to see how people can benefit from dance. One of the many different types of benefits is how it can decrease risks, like in Morgan. Obesity is a big problem in America. Let's get real. 40% of the US suffers from it alone. I can't imagine how it would be in other countries as well. And that's just such a huge number. And it can also help increase other risks as well, such as cardiovascular disease and other chronic diseases, such as IBS, Crohn's, etc. And yeah, any type of physical exercise can do this, but dance actually works as many muscles in your body as does like football. And football is insane because people see them all over TV. And it could also help decrease other risks as well, like short-term or long-term memory loss, which is part of your cognitive flexibility, which is what is basic controls physically and mentally. Because you're having to memorize these different steps and having to focus on your space. And if you're not paying attention to that, the tempo of the music, the speed changes, and your movements, you can injure you or the person next to you. And so dance really, really pushes on your memory. And with that, it can also help motor and behavior control due to the fine types of movements you do. And it can also help with discovering yourself with your individualism. And you need a creative mindset to do that. You would have an open mind to be able to work with changes. Now, you may be wondering, how do dancers do all that? Well, we have needs other than just basic nutrition. We need to be able to practice at home. Without practice, a dancer is more likely to get injured than a dancer who does practice at home. We also need encouragement, because if you're in competition, you need that type of encouragement in your life, or you're not really going to make it because your self-esteem is going to be very, very low. Again, you need to be creative, you need to have an open mind, you need to be ready for any changes that are thrown at you, any different types of movements that are added. But you can also express yourself through dance, which is one of the reasons I love it so much. Along with basic nutrition, of course, these are all things that help a dancer. But I chose dance because it's not very popular here. It's more popular in places like New York, California. Nashville, Tennessee is the home of where my dance I do is from, clogging. And it's not very popular in smaller towns when it should be. I think it's very underrated. And it's really not viewed as a sport when, again, you work as many muscles as a football player depending on what you do. And it's just, I'm able to express myself more because I'm just able to release how I feel by creating music and just focusing on the steps and expressing myself through the emotions I portray through the steps. And you're probably wondering, how does a dancer memorize all these different types of steps? We have a cue sheet for that, hence my product. And people wonder, what's a cue sheet? Because that vocabulary may be unfamiliar to some people. But a cue sheet is used for reading the steps, breaking down the steps, saving the song information, and the timing, which is all very crucial for a dancer to stay on top of. And the pictures shown on the screen are pictures of the rough
sketch of the cue sheet because you need to be able to work on changes with whomever you're working with, that being a professional dancer or a dance teacher. And the song I did was Fairy Tale because I feel like dancing, you're just in this magical world. Fairy Tale was created by a songwriter named Alexander Rybak. It's about 3 minutes long, and it's 108 beats per minute. And people wonder what that is. Well, there's 8 counts per stanza, and there's 108 of those counts per minute in the song. And Alexander Rybak is such a good songwriter. He won Eurovision back in 2009. And Eurovision is a European competition for songwriters to be able to perform their songs and their pieces that they wrote. And I have a clip of me teaching this, and without the cue sheet, I wouldn't have been able to taught this at all. Can you play the clip, please?
Gosh.
Now that clip may be a little fast since we're doing the speed at 100%, which is 108 beats per minute, as I said earlier. So I'm going to break that down for you with a step called the buck chain. On the side, it states the song name and how many there are, which there's 2 in the song that I use this example from. The first line states the step abbreviations, DS being double step, T being toe, H being heel, S being step, and so on. The row under that states your footing, L being left, R being right. And the third row is your counts going up to 8 and going back to 1. And I have an example of me performing this step down there.
Go.
Okay, hi, my name is Nikki Walker. I'll be demonstrating buck chain for you guys. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we got that. And that may have looked like I did it with, it looked like a breeze, but it was actually very, very difficult for me to perform that. And I had many challenges along the way. One of those challenges being finding suitable music. Let's face it, Cardi B is practically taking over the internet, and with that it was very difficult to find an appropriate song to dance to. Not just because of the language, but because of the speed it was at, too fast or too slow, and also because, I need to catch my breath, sorry. Because of the counts, because I need 4 counts to be able to perform that type of dance, not 3. And it was also difficult because I have very poor communication skills. I'm very much so an introvert and not really fond of public speaking, and so speaking up to my mentor about certain issues was very difficult for me because I get really nervous around people, and it was just hard to talk about her because I was afraid she would judge me for my inexperience and not really look at me for how determined I was to want to do something as ambitious as this. And This may have not have changed some people's minds, but I feel like dance can really benefit anyone here. It may be able to benefit one of you guys as well. I think it can really help anyone who puts their mind to it, and as is proved, it can really benefit anyone no matter their height, size, or gender. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
How long have you been dancing?
Well, I did clogging. I haven't done clogging for an entire year yet, or about 9 months, but I did tap for 5 years, which is like the total opposite, so converting from that was a little bit difficult, but I managed to do it. And I did ballet for a little bit longer.
What brought you to clogging?
Well, I was watching my niece's recital, and I saw one of the advanced kids performing their dance, and they did like this really high jump, and like it was like a ballet jump, and so I thought that was really cool, and it intrigued me how they incorporated different styles of dance into clogging, because it was like, hey, you know, this is like tap, but they incorporated more into it. I think that's kind of cool. And so I decided to join, and ended up being for me. Any other questions?
What was your research?
My research was how dance could benefit people, like with how it can physically and mentally benefit them due to there being so many people who suffer from physical and mental like illnesses. I really wanted to look into that because I suffer from some myself, having blood pressure issues and severe anxiety. So I thought it would be interesting to look into that.
Do you find yourself feeling more comfortable when you're on stage clogging or doing something like this?
On stage clogging, because you can't really see the audience because the lights are so bright. And so I prefer that, and I'm also in my zone when I clog.
Okay.
And so, because they teach you to think about your happiest memories, so you have like a genuine smile, because the judges can see through that when they're clogging on competition team and stuff. And so we were taught that due to me being on competition team as well. And so it's just easier because we were trained for it.
I just want to say that Tiffany is one of our A+ tutors in 4th grade, and she has said 10 times more words tonight than I've ever heard her say all year. I am blown away.
I'm very impressed.
Yes.
Symbolic chemistry. She's very quiet.
Was I really?
You were, but I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions?
Good job.
Thank you guys so much. I want to watch Mike's.
I have to do this. I got to watch all the other ones before you.
I'm been sweating right now.
Like,
I'm just like, oh, go girl. I'm so glad it's
you killed it.
I pulled her down when I did that. No, my grade.
You definitely were in your niche, for sure.
I know, I spaced out and I'm like, oh no, where did my grade go? Like, I just watched my grade fall before my eyes. It felt like that.
Wonderful job. So proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You bet.
I'm so glad you had my joke. So
Aw.
it's Miss Johnson.
So I can't talk louder than this.
Okay.
My voice is going out. I don't know what you want me to do about that.
I think we'll check with our judges before you start to make sure that they can hear you. I feel like they can.
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay.
Okay. This, I'm gonna find or something. I don't know.
Judges, I will give you your packet in just a minute. This is session 2007, Kyle Glenn. have the last presentation. I'll take this back unless you want to keep it. Absolutely. Absolutely. You bet. Just a reminder then that what you say is being recorded and live streamed. You're welcome. Everything's clicker's working. Turn it on, cool. What's that?
It works. I can see its suspension is like a shot on it. It's okay. It only has to wait. Probably think what you have to do is just toggle the right wheel. That's why you go for it. Looks cool. Is everybody able to do your judging okay? We've got everybody. Okay. Go and shut the door. We can get started right now. It's all yours, man.
All my judges ready. So the first ever remote control car invented was by a company called Electronico Gattatoli in 1966 using a toy Ferrari. Now, when creating this car, I'm willing to bet they never could have imagined what we use remote control for today. Hello, my name is Kyle Glenn, and I believe remote control provides many different benefits, including safety for an operator, to allow an operator to control a device from a safer distance, and to allow people who cannot perform physically strenuous tasks to have jobs. So drones and remote control, what are drones? Drones are more commonly known as unmanned aerial vehicles, are mainly used for the military purposes, and they were used for surveillance and intelligence gathering. The origin of the drone dates back to the early Vietnam War. In this war, over 3,500 drones were deployed. So the military use of drones mainly consists of two types of drone strikes: personality and signature strikes. Personality strikes are to be believed to be the most common type of strikes. It is where the person in question is gone through a list in court and put on a list of jurisdiction. But the other one, signature strikes, is the more common one, and that is where, as long as you look like the target, you can be struck. But now other uses, obviously, like I've said before, are surveillance and video capture. The public use of drones mainly consist of video capture, photo taking, and recently drone racing has become a big deal. But also there are natural disaster programs. So in terms of earthquakes, tornadoes, in terms of earthquakes, drones can fly in higher and lower altitudes than a helicopter can fit into smaller spaces than a helicopter, and just all around still provide the same benefits a helicopter can. Also, a remote control are mainly obviously used for the ground and can fit into smaller places, still providing surveillance and video capture. So there are obviously many safety concerns for a drone, and concerning drones, and these usually consist of, there are two main cases I want to talk about, and that is one of them being a person was shot down a drone because he caught the drone recording a video of his daughter. And when this went to court, the drone owner never got anything charged against him, but the person who shot down the drone got charged with criminal mischief. Now, the other case is similar to this, in being the drone got again shot down, but it was because the drone owner was recording videos of houses alongside the street. Now, to protect against these privacy concerns, two people by the name of Rode and Swaz created a drone control uplink system called Artemis. And this provides drone control uplink. It allows you to know where a drone is at all times, and it also allows you to zone off areas like military bases, airports, places where you don't want drones or remote control taking videos of. Now, in doing this project, I researched mainly about the military purpose of drones and remote control. But I wanted to take it back to what it was originally intended as, in just a toy. So I built this RC car right here. Now, to design this, I mainly used Fusion 360, Tinkercad, and SketchUp. Fusion 360 was my main 3D modeling software I used. It's actually the one I used in this class right here, Mr. Knapp's engineering class, and I used it also at home. And it's the main one I used for the actual big parts of the body, and then Tinkercad and SketchUp are for the ones I use for the smaller parts of the car. And then I have a 3D printer at my house. I then 3D printed it in 2 sections, and each of these sections took around 40 hours to print if they didn't mess up. I used PLA filament, which after some testing, not super thorough, in Mr. Knapp's engineering class, I realized was probably the best one to use from the tensile strength and the flexibility of it. So how I grew in this project, it really tested my patience and problem solving skills. There were many, many different broken parts. As you can see, this is the back half of the car right here. And this A frame of the window actually broke off multiple different times. So what me and my dad did actually, was just take Gorilla Super Glue before it broke off and just glued it down to the print bed. And it turned out fine. But the front half, I printed months before I printed the back half of the card. And when I was printing the back half of the card, it slowly disintegrated. I never fully realized why it just broke and disintegrated. I think I printed it at a wrong filament percentage, because I printed the back half at 25, and I'm pretty sure I printed the front half the first time at 15%. Also, in building the chassis of the card, I was testing it to make sure it worked, and I broke the front right side of the card right here, actually. So, in doing this, I broke it, and then I contacted the store to get the parts, and I contacted them multiple different times, but they never got back to me and never got the parts, so I could never fix it. And also, after I showed Miss Wilson this, and she approved it and everything, I put it in my truck right after, and I come back after baseball practice, and it is in 2 pieces again. So you can see right here where I did not repaint it. So all I had to do was just glue it back together. But it still works, even being with how it is. I can show you if you want me to. But it really didn't turn out how I wanted it to. It broke a lot more than I was expecting it to. The front part, the paint didn't stick how I wanted it. Just many things went wrong with it. So, but when the Electronica Giocattoli, the company that first created the remote control car as a toy, I'm willing to bet they never could have imagined what we use remote control for today, as in military, video capture, drones, just anything in general. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
Did you, I'm sorry, did the body of it, I mean, you talked about the body of it was a 3D printer, right? What about like the chassis and the remote portion and all that? How did you do that?
The chassis I just mainly got from the store that I actually called about the parts. And then I thought it was going to be good, and then I tested it to make sure it worked, and then I broke it.
Honey Spool, if I said that word right. Did you go through to 3D print that?
3 or 4, because it messed up quite a bit.
Are you planning on going in the military or?
No, I just find drones, remote control interesting, and 3D printing to me is interesting, so thought I might as well just do something with it.
So you have your own 3D printer?
Yes.
So are you planning on going into that or some type of design or engineering or anything like that?
Yeah,
after high school?
engineering stuff.
How fast does that car go?
I think it goes around 35 miles per hour.
Is that how it broke?
Yeah, I was testing it at the football field, and I just wanted to do a lap around it. Actually, my dad gave me the idea to do a lap around the track, and it was on the other side of the track, and I couldn't tell where it was, like, in relation to the track, so I just kept on going, and I was closer to the fence post that surrounds the football field than I thought I was, and it just slammed straight into the truck.
Do you own any unmanned aerial drones at all?
I've flown them, but I don't know
I don't know
them.
if you have one or not.
No. Any other questions? Okay.
Great job, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, it turned out good.
It was really short.
Perfectly fine.
I don't know what happened when I put it in my car, but it was good.
Well, it's, when you're doing a thin body like that, you just gotta filter, so make sure you almost would have had to do a wall. Change that wall parameter, which I've never changed the wall parameter. What happened if you do it?
I don't know what happened with the front half the first time, because I still have it in my like, drawer where I keep all this stuff. And it just disintegrated. I picked it up one day and it just fell apart.
I'm impressed you could get half that on the print bed. Was it an Ender? What did you print on?
An Adventure 4 Pro, so it's an A+ one because it's inches on HDD, but I printed it vertical.
Sure, yeah, I would. But you can tell from the way.
Yeah, and obviously it was less filament this way. I mean,
filler.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it would've, you'd been nothing but support structure otherwise. And man, you could've tried to take it apart, it'd have busted all up.
You did a good job. You seem to be more interested in the 3D printing side than the drawing side.
Yeah.
All right. That's pretty cool too. It's really cool. I'm thinking about getting into the drawing side myself, like a retirement gig, you know. Because I'm serious.
It's neat stuff.
I've got one where you can do commercial videos and stuff like that.
It's neat stuff.
So I'm kind of interested in this thing.
I'm kind of a sucker for watching those online
Yeah,
too,
I know.
when people do the flyovers.
I know some of them are pretty good. Really cool. You did a good job.
Let me get that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got you. No, okay. Because we tested it in the cafeteria. It was
Nephew, we were talking about the military, that's one of the things we did in Iraq, when we were down there, we played the drone.
Oh, that's cool.
So, that's cool.
Yeah, we're out of town.
To get on to check house.
Simultaneously?
No,
Or
like
they
he
just,
had two on ground and
then you just kept going?
my grandson was well, you remember Carter from
Yeah.
the Christmas party, he was like, he couldn't practice because he didn't want to then.
I'm just very disappointed. I'm afraid that they still can't play it. Because after a while, you're disappointed you didn't see it.
Yeah, but it's a little one for Christmas and first thing he did was to help the house. Yeah, that would be something. I didn't want you to have a license to do that.
Yeah, I did it. You got the time right there.
I think you don't need one, you just want to do it, and do it, but I think when you start charging everything.
Yeah, someone can, we don't really pay for it, so we can take pictures of it.
Exactly.
That's not the point, yeah.
Some of those are
That's
pretty well
six.
done, because after you do
That's
it,
more
you do it, edit it, put in music on it, captions, and it's pretty good.
Looks like everybody's already in, but it is session ID 2037. That's Kayla Nielsen. So she'll be coming in shortly. What's going on there? Go all the way forward for some reason. You have 2 more presentations, right? This one and the next one. And then you guys are going home and I start out a couple of Usually you keep setting up back there, right? Is that easel yours? Yeah. So you're gonna bring it up? Here, I can work on this while you're starting to do that. It's one less thing for you to think about.
Yeah.
Pretty far out.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was traditional painting.
I'm not sure if we'll do this one, because you can kind of see it.
Yeah. Especially when you put those in fingers.
I put Mod Podge over it.
Yeah, I could see it, but
It's fine. Yes. Do I have to wait until like exactly 7 or?
well, if we think we've got all the judges and you've got everybody that you expect to have in the room,
Okay.
then, you know, if it's a minute early or something, we can start. Did you get the clipping?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. I want to give it a test. Yep, you're good. Let me see if you're on camera. There you go. We didn't get this thing going.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Get it
fine.
over with.
Whenever you are ready.
Are my judges ready? Alright, so ever since I was younger, hobbies really weren't like a thing to me. I would try riding bikes, playing games, watching TV, any little girl's dream, like dolls, nothing really excited me. Until one day my mom gave me a box of arts and crafts. And the rest has been history, and since then I've always been loving to do that. My name is Michaela Nilsson, and I believe art therapy is the key to inner human peace. And I really think it can help all of you eventually. So education actually uses art therapy. Like Willow Springs, they use the DDAE system, which is discipline-based art education, where you have to at least have 1 art credit to pass, or have like a band or something, because art is proven to like help relieve stress. And school is stressful, so school systems even like provide this so that you can have an easier way. A school proven this because they took a art-based field trip and took kids with good behavior and bad behavior onto a art-themed field trip, and it benefited both students. The kids with the good behavior were actually able to enjoy school more and not be so like boxed in and be too worried, and like their stress went away. And then the kids with the bad behavior decided to like act up nicer, and they actually paid attention in school more and had like more appreciation for the school district system. Mental health also use art therapy because
there's an increasing admission rate into mental institutions, either voluntarily or involuntarily. And at these mental institutions, they actually use group art therapy, where it's like regular group talk therapy, where you at least have one licensed therapist in the room and they all talk together. But group art therapy is where they have the therapist and they're all in the room, but they're all doing art, which is exactly like art class in any like scenario. Physical health also helps in this. So cancer patients, there will be hospitals where they actually use group art therapy, because when you have cancer, it is a very dramatic time in their life, especially for children, because they don't fully understand what is happening, and it's stressful for the parents. It's stressful for the nurses because they create a bond with those patients, the doctors, any family members, anybody knowing the person with the cancer. It really affects them. So at some hospitals, they'll actually have group art therapy for not just the patients, but for their families to attend, because stress really evolves around you. You cannot be stressed out, but if somebody else is stressed out, it really makes you kind of feel on edge, and it really just helps everybody, and it also helps recovery. So if they're taking chemo and if they're less stressed, it actually is proven to like help the process and have more of a chance. Elderly, like nursing homes, actually do use this process too, because becoming elderly is a very traumatic time in their lives. From you're in control of your whole life, you've been in control of your whole life the whole time, and then when you get to a certain point, some people go to nursing homes or are home ridden, and so people sometimes lose their house. Some people can't see family members that they've seen their whole lives, and sad, but yes, some older people do pass away. So you could have a close friend and they could leave, which is very traumatic, and art therapy actually helps them kind of relax. And in nursing homes, nurses actually use this technique to learn more about that the patient in the nursing home, to make the experience for them more home-like and let them like understand more. Dementia patients also use art therapy, because dementia is when you are like forgetting things, either lost, like short-term, or you like kind of forget where you're at, and then you end up somewhere and you have no recollection of how you got in there. And people have used art therapy to like calm them down, because some dementia patients actually have like violent outbreaks from this. And art is known to be like soothing and calming, but nurses will use it for the dementia patients to learn more about them, because it goes back to the elderly thing. They get to learn more about them and make the experience more based on them. So when they're having these outbursts, they can sometimes calm them down and be like kind of relate to what they've drawn or made or told them about while doing this. So my project, I made 2 paintings, and the paint is actually made out of strawberries and blueberries and raspberries and like some flowers. My inspiration is my family. So my family, they've always been like arts and crafts based, but they're also a little extra and more outgoing than most families. So instead of just doing a regular painting, I really wanted to stand out, and I decided to create my own painting, because I seen this documentary where it was about what ancient people made paint, like how they made paint, how they harvested it, or like dyed yarn and stuff. And I really wanted to do something based on that, because I'm also a history buff. I had to crush up the berries and petals and all this with a mortar and pestle, which was given to me by my mom, which is another inspiration, because my mom's always like embraced my weird side and like will actually go out of her way to make sure I have things that she thinks nobody else has, just to make me feel more at home. This is the process of me learning and experimenting, because I didn't have no clue. I only looked up ideas of what people have used to create the paint, and I was just kind of going to guess and learn from the experience. So this is when I first started, and it was off of some flowers. The flower petals actually left this really nice pink tint, and you could still kind of see it on that one. But it really just wasn't doing it for me, because the like the middle of the flower, like the yellow part, it turned to like this weird brown, but I actually like it now. So then I had to learn with other berries and how to mix different berries together, use them alone, do double coats on some of them to get like a darker pigment. And I also had to like learn, so like over here, that is like pure jam for me, crushing up the berries together. So I had to mix it with water to get the pigment out of the jam, so it's not just me painting with jam. So I had to experiment with that, and it was a long process. It actually helped me like de-stress because it was the beginning of second semester when I started on this, and that was when we really got kicked into gear of, hey, end of the year is coming up, you're gonna graduate soon, you need to get ready for this night. And it actually helped me like be more or less stressed about it, and helped me like I had something I looked forward to doing it, which I usually don't look forward to doing anything. So it really helped. My challenges were the timing, because of using fruit. I didn't know how long it would last to stay colorful, and I really tried waiting as long as I could so that it'd be kind of bright and pigmented, but you can kind of tell that one's a little bit more brown than, I don't have a picture on there right now, but it was like this purple color. Another timing issue was we had to turn them in end of February, but I didn't know how long it would take me to paint this. So I tried holding out as long as I could before I started doing it, but then I had to get it done, and I didn't know how long it would take, but I wanted to hold it out long enough so it would work. Another timing issue was getting supplies, because when I first started on this, it was when the boycott of the truck drivers was happening. So I couldn't find any fresh fruit anywhere. I went to Dollar General, Town and Country, I went to like Casey's to see if they had little store things. I went to Family Dollar, couldn't find it. Couldn't even find like frozen fruit. So finally I went to like Walmart, and there was like one container left. So it took me a week, and I went to 3 separate stores before I finally found what I was trying to look for. So next time you guys are stressed and you just need to relax and like craft with your kids that's fun and edible, you can take out a box of crafts or try to make your own paint and just experiment with it. And I hope it helps you guys find your inner human peace. Thank you, and do my judges have any questions?
How long did it take you once you started?
It took me about 3-4 weeks, because I couldn't it didn't dry fast because it was fruit, so I had to wait for it to dry, and I didn't want to like pressure it to drying like using a heat gun or anything, so I just let it dry naturally. But it didn't take that long, not as long as I thought it would.
Was this the first time that you actually made paint out of fruit?
Yes.
So explain to me that again, because I kind of follow what you're saying. So is it about extracting the pigment?
Yes, the pigment
with
out
water,
of the
because you have to grind it and then
yeah.
you extract it.
Because when
mix it
I
with
grinded
water.
it up, it made it like a jam, and it was
Right.
super thick, and I couldn't
Right.
paint it with it, but I
Right.
still wanted that color, so using the water, it made it more liquefied, and then I could separate like the seeds and like the thicker parts of the fruit from it, and then use the colored water that it came from it to paint with it.
Did you know anything about that before you did this project?
Nope, I just kind of winged it, and
That's good.
I learned from it, and eventually got my products.
Do you plan on doing anything with art?
I'm wanting to go to Kansas City and major in art, and I eventually want to be like art therapy for like children and stuff, and like a caseworker almost, and then yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing, but we'll see.
Good start.
Thank you.
Great job.
Good, excellent.
I just take these out.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll help you.
Okay, thank you.
Cooperate.
Yeah, you should have seen the chart carried all the way over here. I kept hitting the ceiling with it.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of long, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Good job.
Thank you.
Ladies and didn't have anybody help her carry her stuff, so I wanted to help her get it back down to there. Oh, that's cool, that little folder thing.
Thank you.
Oh, is it like your survey?
Yeah.
Look how unwieldy it is. Did you order it, Blue, or did you make it?
I ordered it.
It's cool.
Yeah, I had to fill in.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha, thank you.
I was called at 5 o'clock.
Get up here.
I'm used to being on this side, so I'm not gonna stand over there, it's gonna be weird. Do you have a clicker or?
Yeah, it's on the chalk rest right behind you.
There you go.
If you're used to presenting from the other side, as long as you're on camera, which you get caught on camera, that's fine. If that makes you feel more comfortable to present from that side, it shouldn't be a problem.
I can do it from this side.
Okay.
It's just not what I'm used to, so it'll be interesting.
Maybe give it a test click. Yeah, there you go.
Still got 5 minutes. I'm gonna sit back down.
Yeah, I mean, put your feet up and catch your breath.
Don't give her any ideas.
It took me, I think, Indo, whatever. You got it?
I'll sit right here. You're not next to me. Are you doing that? Oh, wow, good girl.
We're talking about doing the wave pulses.
Oh, no.
You wanna get in on that?
No. I was just like, and then I saw the phone and I looked at the phone therapy and I was just like, you go. I'm not going home. I'm not going. You got this.
I know it was good whenever I came back.
Yeah, it's not. First of all, I'll wait.
Just say whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I read the first page and then, but you know, it's over. I watched from my work, I'll read it here.
questions, like 12, 15 minutes, but then
Are you finding this?
Yeah.
Oh, then yeah, great. Okay.
Hey, did they tell you to switch me or what?
No, I was just checking to see.
No, I'm good, thank you though.
Double down.
Yeah, me too.
I'm on a lot right now, so I'm thinking.
Are my judges ready? There's a thing out there that helps with conditions. People with mental and physical illnesses can use this as a tool to make them feel better. What if I told you that this thing was widely accessible and almost always free? You might be wondering, what could this thing be? Is there really anything out there that can help so well? And yes, it's music. Music has so many benefits, especially when you listen to it. It can affect your mood. When you listen to something happy, for example, it makes you feel good. When you listen to something sad, it makes you want to cry. And hi, my name is Serafina George, and I believe that music is a vital part of any environmental setting, such as a school setting, because music has the ability to both mentally and physically affect a student's life. Because without music, life would be flat. So you might be wondering, why choose a topic such as music? Like, isn't that something that a lot of people do? Well, I come from a very musical family, so I blame them for the way that I've turned out. I remember a time when my dad used to have a camcorder. This was the early 2000s, so people were still doing that. They didn't have phones at that time, cell phones. So he had this camcorder and would record videos of me back when I was a toddler. And I remember seeing one in particular where I was banging on pots and pans and just having a great time making music. And I didn't even realize he was recording because I was just having so much fun with music. So that is why I chose music as my project. There are many benefits to music. Studies show that as early as the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, infants can distinguish sound. So they can hear music before they're even born. Studies also show that young infants, as young as a few months old, can recognize certain songs. Music
therapy is a very important tool that has been used for thousands of years. Aphasia is a speech-inhibiting condition usually caused by a brain injury or a traumatic event, such as a stroke or a car accident. And sung word music therapy has actually been able to help certain people with aphasia regain speech. This is because of patterns in the brain hemispheres. Because when you talk, only the left hemisphere of the brain is activated. However, when you sing, it activates both hemispheres. So people with aphasia could learn to sing and could actually be able to talk again as a result of that therapy. It has been shown that young children with autism, specifically nonverbal autism, can use sung word music therapy in school to help them with their speech skills. It has also been shown to remediate language skills in children suffering from dyslexia. Patients with Alzheimer's, which is a condition in which their memory starts to degrade over time, they actually have been able to regain memories from listening to music. This is because musical memory can outlast other forms of memory, and so by listening to old songs that they used to like when they were younger, they can actually regain memories that they thought they had lost from it. And anxiety. I have anxiety, so I can say personally that music helps me a lot. Whenever I'm having a bad day or I'm really stressed, I can listen to music and it automatically makes me feel a lot better. And studies show that certain music, such as those with 10-second cycles, can help calm anxiety. As I've said before, there are many health benefits to music. It has also been shown that young children that join choir or band can have a lot of benefits. It has been shown that musicians are more intelligent than non-musicians. They receive higher grades and are they have higher standardized testing and spatial testing scores than their non-musician counterparts. I have been in choir for the past 8 years, and I can say that it has definitely changed my life. My choir is pretty much like my second family, and I don't know what I'd do without them because they have definitely improved my life. Being in choir and getting to do one of the things that I love most, which is singing, and being able to spend quality time with the friends who I love and cherish is something that means a lot to me. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little choked up. I really hope that everybody can have a similar experience to what I had growing up in choir. So this leads me to my product. For my product, I decided to do a music survey. I had participants come in to Mr. Haji's room and take this short survey, and they would listen to music and write about how it made them feel. I included a pre-listening section and a post-listening section. I had them describe how they were feeling before the experiment began and after listening to music, if there were any changes or just how they felt as a result of doing it. These were the songs that I used in my survey. I tried to do a lot of different genres to appease everybody's music taste, because I know that music is one of those things that is very opinionated. Everybody likes different things. So. From my experiment, I found that over 90% of participants recorded a change in mood. And most of these were from experiencing a negative mood to a positive one. So this is the final conclusive data that I discovered as a result. This QR code here links to another PowerPoint with all my data on it, so you can see what I got from my results. But this is just the main thing. So here's all the moods that people felt through the songs, and the red, green, and blue, or blue-gray, indicates whether or not they wanted to listen to it again because of how they felt. And something quite interesting that I found is that, you know, of course, the people that felt the positive emotions had a greater want to listen to it again, but also a lot of people that were sad liked it enough to want to listen to it again, which I found interesting. There were a lot of challenges that I faced. The most important one was the weather. I had originally wanted to do this back in January, and whenever we got it set up, we got bad weather, and we got out of school, and I had to reschedule. So I rescheduled it for the beginning of February, and then we got bad weather again, and I had to reschedule it again. And it was really difficult because I'm a senior, so I'm really busy. I'm in choir, drama club, I'm in a band. I do a lot of after-school stuff, so it was really hard to find a time to be able to do it. And I know that a lot of people that decided to sign up for it also have busy schedules, so it was difficult to get a proper time set up, but we got it all figured out, and I got 40 people in my experiment, which is a good number. But participation was another challenge. While I did get 40 people, which is a pretty good number, I wish I would have gotten more than that, because the more people you have, the more data you get. So I wanted to get as many people in as possible so that my data would be more solid. Also, the grouping. I had originally wanted to do this experiment like one-on-one, just have one person at a time come in and do it, and then repeat over and over again with everybody. But I didn't have the time to do it like that, so I had to have just a big group come in and do it at once. And I noticed that there were certain people that were writing a lot more than others, and so it kind of feels like they were rushed a little, and the answers weren't as in-depth as they could have been if I had just given them the time that they needed to finish writing. And I feel like if I had more time to do it one-on-one, the answers would have been a bit better. However, despite all the challenges, there was also some growth. My time management skills have definitely improved as a result of my product, because I had to find the time in my schedule to get this done, and I had to compile all my data, which took a really long time, and with all my other senior stuff going on, it was hectic, but I was able to get it all in, and it has definitely improved my time management, and also my communication skills. I had to get up and talk in front of a big group of people like I'm doing now, and it's something that I have done before because I'm in drama club, but it's not really something I like doing because I have stage fright, and it's nerve-wracking because I have really bad anxiety. So I had to just kind of calm down and talk, which is not something I like doing, but I did it, and I think it turned out really well. So I can definitely say that my communication skills have grown because of my experiment. So from this, I was able to conclude that from my data, I got a lot of beneficial information. I found that a lot of people thought that my product was really nice. A lot of the people that participated in it said, you know, oh, I really enjoyed this. This was really fun. I learned a lot about myself, and I really enjoyed listening to music and getting to write about it. And that is what I wanted. I wanted people to be able to listen to music and enjoy it and talk about how it made them feel. And it was like a therapy session. And I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to do something like this. And I really hope that it'll be a small change, probably, but I hope that it can at least make a change for the better in our school, because I think music is a very important part of education. And so, yes. Do my judges have any questions?
Do you plan to pursue music afterwards?
I'm thinking about it. I might go to college for music education. I'm not 100% sure yet because I'm still going through deciding all of the possibilities, but it is definitely something I'm interested in, so I might pursue it in college.
I think you would do well.
Thank you.
Me too.
Me three.
Yes. So I'm curious, like for yourself, when, I'd like a couple of examples of maybe moods like anxious, sad, angry, whatever, and then the music you listen to make yourself feel better.
Well, I listen to a lot of weird music that like a lot of people don't like. I like black metal, avant-garde music, instrumentals, soundtrack music. I usually listen to like indie and avant-garde stuff to make me feel better, and metal whenever I'm mad because it tends to make me feel better after I release all that energy and chaos. And an interesting thing that I found was from the metal song that I used, a lot of people actually felt calm afterwards. So it was interesting because, yeah, it helps me feel calm afterwards too. Any other questions? Yes?
Oh, you say you play in a band. Like what band do you play in and what do you do?
Well, Dad, I'm so glad you asked. He only asked me that question because he is also in that band and wants an advertisement. Okay. I'm in a band called Ancient Stone, and we do a lot of classic rock, some metal, some country. I'm in that band with my dad and 2 of his friends, and it's an interesting experience. It definitely promotes a lot of bonding time, which is always a good thing, because I like getting to spend time with my dad. But yeah, our next show is next week, I think.
No, May 14th at
May
Carey's
14th.
Bar in Springfield.
Okay.
Can you say that again?
May 14th at Carey's Bar in Springfield.
Okay.
So if you want to hear me sing, check us out on Facebook, Ancient Stone. Any other questions?
When are we gonna get to see this time management stuff at home?
After I graduate, probably. Yeah, after I graduate. You gotta wait until then. Anything else?
Gold Star.
I feel like you gotta wait
Gold
for
Star.
the
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh. Yeah, good time. Is that 15 minutes? That's, I feel like a random one. I think it was very close. Yeah. Yep. It's very good. How was my time?
Yes, I love it.
What?
Oh, that was long.
Sorry, you come
It was so close to 40 minutes.
Was it good?
Yes, it was very good.
Was it interesting enough? Okay.
Yeah, I just went ahead and just hung it from the extra stack of work for now.
I really wish I could have been in there. Oh my gosh, I didn't know when you guys were meeting up.
It's gonna look awesome when it gets done.
So I would have loved to have been there.
Well, I'm glad you could come to the presentation.
Well, I was so glad I was in it and listened to it. You did so good. I'm so happy for you. You rant a lot too.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
We better go to the next person. Yeah.
We got it.
Okay.
We got you.
Okay.
That was very
Careful on your shoes. It'll probably be 8:30 or later for them. Because I'll help them break down and clean up some stuff. You can come on. Yeah, sorry. And we've been putting the presentation boards on a bookshelf, usually they fit okay.
I forgot my phone.
Oh, yep, I see that. There you go.
Thank you.
Yes, you can. Our agenda will be at the Chromebooks. Maybe where there is not a Chromebook. I'll go.
Yeah, you took it. It's almost right.
Yep, you go. That's after.
Okay.
Great. This is Brenda Barnes, session ID 1981. And Mike is Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, and Jim.
Thank you.
Yep, I've got it.
I'm doing important things, okay? Okay?
Trying to not lose it.
Thank you. Yeah, I just put it down.
Yeah, the down is forward and then.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. We're actually at time, so I'll go ahead and shut the door. If you are ready, you can start whenever you are ready. After I clear the staging.
Okay, are my judges ready?
Yes.
Okay. Huerta, an American soldier, was diagnosed with PTSD in 2004 and refused to seek help because he was afraid of what Army leadership would think of him. He was a soldier. He was tough. He thought he could just shake it off and go on with life. Little did he know his mental health issues were going to take a toll on his daily life. He didn't know what the trigger was. Maybe it was his comrade, a mother of two, who committed suicide weeks after returning home. Or maybe it was the faces of the children whenever he told them that their parents would never come home. And it didn't just happen once, it kept happening. He had brought war home with him. Hello, my name is Brenda Barnes, and going into the military has many benefits that can cause long-term mental health issues, given the circumstances and duties performed daily. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a psychiatric disorder caused by a traumatic event such as death, a serious injury, or war in this case. Symptoms that veterans may experience with PTSD are a change in eating pattern, a change in sleeping pattern, constant fear, or constant anxiety. But like all health issues, there's always a scientific explanation on why our body does the things that it does. In this case, it is a deficiency in serotonin. Serotonin is a natural chemical our body produces that transmits signals between our nerve cells. It does everything in our body, from controlling our motor skills to our emotions. It is the mood stabilizer of our body, and it is the explanation of why our body has irregular behaviors. Whenever you go to the military, you have to adapt to a whole new normal. You have to build broken bonds and reconnect with your friends and family since you've been gone for so long. You have to find a new routine that not only works for yourself, but works for others, because you don't want to interrupt the life of others from coming home. You also have to prepare for civilian life. Since you were gone for so long, you have to come back to society, come back to your friends and family, and realize that life here is way different than on a military base. It can become hard because whenever we deal with changes as humans, it's hard. But if it's not taken care of, it can lead to a more serious issue. As humans, we are social creatures. We like to form bonds with people around us, such as our friends and our family. We like to talk and communicate with people we know. Whenever you go to the military, you're taken away from all of that. You're in a whole new environment with whole new people, and you have to make new friends and make new connections with people. Whenever you're in a whole new environment, you can begin to develop anxiety, and this can lead to depression or sadness, which can lead to suicidal thoughts, or in a much more serious case, suicidal actions. People with PTSD are 5.3 times the death rate of suicide. But it not only affects the veteran whenever someone goes in the military, it can also affect the family. If the veteran is a parent or a sibling, then the family has to get used to the absence. If they're a parent, then their children's needs aren't met. And whenever a child's needs aren't met, then it can result in bad behavior or they'll act out. And it not only affects the children, it can also affect the spouse. I read an article about a married couple sleeping one night, and the husband woke up out of a deep sleep, punching the air and just acting chaotic, all because he had a nightmare about war. No one really understands the full effect war has on the brain. But as soldiers, they have the stigma that they don't need help, and by asking for help, that they are weak. They refuse help because they think that just because they're a soldier that they're strong and they don't need it. But as humans, we all could use a helping hand. Whenever we're sick or have a cold or we have a cough, we all go to the doctor or we get medicine because we know in the end, medicine's gonna make us healthy and it's gonna help us. But as soldiers, they don't want that. They think that they can deal with it on their own, and it can result into much more serious problems. And 57% of adults care about people with PTSD, but only 25% of people with PTSD believe that. So it's really hard to reach out for help whenever you believe that no one cares for you. But there are ways to cope, such as talking with your friends and family. This is called social coping. Whenever you talk with people that you're comfortable with or that you trust about your problems, it can become really easy to get over them. Or you can educate yourself. You need to notice these symptoms and know what you're going through, know what your body's doing, and come to terms with that you need help. And then, or you could go online and go to a class or in a group. It can be really easy to interact with others whenever they're going through the same thing, because you know in the end that they're going through the same thing and there's no judgment. And lastly, spending time with people. People with PTSD tend to isolate themselves, stay away because they're sad and they just don't want to talk to anyone. But sometimes spending time with your friends and family can make you happier and just bring you out and increase your mental health. In an interview with Brittany Capater, she stated, "All I knew is that I was getting my college paid for. I had no idea about the blood, sweat, and tears involved in this activity." She explained to me that she knew the benefits of going to the military, such as her college being paid for and like all the free stuff, but she had no idea about the harsh domain and all of the hard work it consisted of. Brittany Capater was my mentor, and she served in the Air Force, and she was a big help to my project. This leads me to my product. For this year, for my senior project, I decided to host the Veterans Day Assembly. At the Veterans Day Assembly, I knew whenever I did my senior project, I wanted to hold a meeting and I wanted to have a good purpose. And I knew by setting a date to honor the true heroes of our community would mean a lot to not only myself, but the school as well. I had many goals for my assembly. I wanted the whole district to attend, which I got to do. But although that was my goal, my main goal was for the veterans present to feel loved and honored. I gained many skills from this project, such as organizational skills, preparational skills, and just life skills in general. I underestimated all of the work it took to organize an assembly with the whole district, but I was happy with my turnout. My main inspiration for doing this was FCCLA. I knew if I wasn't a part of this amazing club, then I wouldn't have been able to get up there, talk confidently, and organize this event the way that I did. I decided to put my planning process into 3 months of this event, September, October, and November. In September, I started off by getting approval by all the necessary teachers and my principal, Dr. Spence. After I got it approved, I set a date for November 11th at 9:30 a.m. In October, I proceeded by making arrangements. I had to make flyers to pass out everywhere, such as the school and in town, and I also had to make programs so people knew the order in which things were happening. I had to make sure the gym was set up nicely with ferns and all the chairs and mics and lights were working, and then I had to find speakers lastly. And then in November, I got to have my follow-up and hold my assembly finally. I wanted not only the high school to be involved in this, I also wanted the middle school and the elementary to do that, to be involved as well. So I did that by having little events for each grade level to do. I started off by asking the 4th grade to sing at the event, and they sang a song called "The Brave." I didn't have any younger grades be a part of my assembly because I didn't think they would understand the meaning of the event. And I had the middle school make thank you cards that they passed out at the event, and then I had students of all grade levels expressing their gratitude in a video that I played at the assembly. And then lastly, I had the high school band play the national anthem at the event. Like I said before, I had to find speakers. I found 7 speakers total, 2 of them being teachers at Willow Springs High School, and 4 of them being my really close friends. Ashlyn Jones, Gracie Rothermich, Stacy Johnson, and Allie Martin were my student speakers. Dr. Spence introduced my guest speaker, which is Vincent McCroskey. Vincent McCroskey, also known as Coach Mac, is a history teacher here at Willow Springs High School. He served in the Navy, and I thought it would be really cool to have someone local speak at my assembly rather than a stranger, because I knew it would keep students engaged more. I did face challenges while completing my senior project, such as public speaking. I am kind of shy and an introvert, so getting up there and speaking in front of the whole district was very nerve-wracking, and I was super scared. But after I got up there and started talking a while, I overcame that fear. And then the next one was finding speakers. I knew that I was really nervous to speak, so I knew other students would be very nervous also, but I wanted it to be student-led because that gives students like myself the chance to take ownership of my own results. So I asked 4 of my really close friends, and they were willing to help in each way that they could. And then lastly was COVID. Due to capacity restrictions, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to hold this event in gym with all of the whole district. So that was a problem, but I ended up getting approval, and I got to have it where I wanted with who I wanted. If Wardo wouldn't have seeked the help that he needed, then he wouldn't be here today to celebrate Veterans Day like all of us deserve to celebrate. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
Very well. Proud of you.
Thank you.
Are you thinking of serving in the military?
No. I don't think so. I think it'd be really cool, but I don't know if I
Do you have family members that served?
My grandpa did, but yeah, that's about it.
What do you learn from this? I mean, besides saying something about what personally would you learn?
Like from my research?
Yeah, that.
I really came to terms with how much veterans actually do, at their base. They really do serve our country, in all the work that they put into it. It's amazing.
Did you do a lot of research on PTSD with the military?
Yeah, and it was kind of hard to find it because there weren't very many books in the library, so I had to kind of rely on the internet and Wikipedia and stuff. So I had to really research it to make sure I got the exact statistics.
Were you able to talk to any vets that had gone through it? Or?
I did speak with a couple after Veterans Day Assembly, but not really about PTSD. Just yeah, I just visited with them. Thank you.
Pretty good eye contact. So, good job, Julie.
I agree. Thank you.
That's why we were talking about it, but-
Very good.
So, long as it is. First time I've heard this, everybody's good.
There you go.
There's on mine.
You know what time it is?
I'm not going. I will stay.
Yeah.
Mr. Knapp, you just want me to read this to you?
Yeah, you may leave it there. I'll take it.
Alright. Thank you for letting me come into your room and do this.
Thanks for helping out.
You're welcome.
You're wanting for some light reading.
You know how much light reading I get. Oh, I did have a name sticker.
Where magic happens.
this is, I just made this, one of the kids in the engineering class modeled it, but it's a, what material it comes off of. It's a replacement, rider bearing for a tile saw. You can't tell hardly now, but this inside when all this material comes out, all the support material, it perfectly houses two bearings. And there's a snap ring, there's a little groove in here for the snap ring to go in, and then. You can kind of see how it's cambered down there, and rolled to the tile saw. They broke one of the wheels working on it, and they couldn't order replacement parts. So they just asked us if we could do it, and I gave it to one of the boys in the engineering class, and got it done in a couple class periods.
We can start doing a lot of in-house stuff, cool stuff.
Well, we're working on it.
It's been a pretty,
We bought a bunch of, these cheap cameras during COVID. And we're gonna turn them into document cameras for the elementary school.
Yeah, I think he's gonna do well.
Yeah, the engineers model.
We go down in 2
So,
weeks
they're
and he
about
does drumline auditions. So get his spot on the drumline, so he's pretty excited, I think. Yeah,
we're getting
they're
there.
just announced today, they're building a whole new practice facility for the band and with turf field and everything, so it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. They get to travel to LSU and to Texas A&M.
Oh my.
As their away games, so,
Uh-huh.
so he's pretty excited.
And you'll be traveling there on, well, some
Yeah,
Saturdays,
Some Saturdays, yeah.
when you don't have contest of your
We can
own.
find tickets or at least just go and try to watch, yep.
Like my new digs?
I like it, I like it. Do you like it?
I love it.
I knew when I came in here, I didn't forget that photo.
That's pretty cool photo.
And do something with that brick wall though.
I
Well,
love that brick
that-
wall.
I know,
My
but it needs
topographical
something
map.
that, you know, that kinda,
Was gonna go on it, but ended up being a little smaller than I thought it might be, and it's not, we're getting there. I'm gonna do something big with it though.
Yeah.
I kinda wanna do some faux neon or something on it,
Right.
maybe. I
yeah.
don't know. But I don't wanna get too comfy, cause they're talking about another year or two, I may be in the MoDOT building,
Right.
so.
Yeah, I love that brick wall.
Oh, I do
When I was
too.
in high school ended.
It ended here,
Mhm.
right.
Anyway.
That was a
Thanks,
long
Mayor.
time
Good to
ago.
see you, good to see you.
Long
time ago.
long.
Back in the 1900s.
I don't, did you sign up for Jesse's presentation? I don't know, we don't have any papers for him. So I don't know if they moved it and just rescheduled judges or what.
Okay, so I might be done.
You might be done.
Hang out for a minute and.
I forget what prompted Stacy to think. Well, aside from not having papers on Jesse, what else was it that made you think we weren't having him? Wasn't there something else that clued you in that?
He's not on the list that.
Oh,
is
right.
box.
Yeah, there was another list in the box that didn't have him
Yeah.
on it, even though our judging list does.
And then the fact that I know some changed, you know, to not have a mark on it, so.
Okay, so,
I think you're off the hook.
so do you enjoy,
That's okay. We'll get you out of it.
accidentally?
Yeah, no big deal. I gotta close all the computers down here.
So, you're doing engineering now?
Well, I'm still doing the American history. I'm teaching the engineering on my prep block, but I'm teaching an extra engineering class. I don't know that we have a last presentation.
Oh, I've got one.
Jesse Emery?
That doesn't give me names.
Yeah.
Climbing the stairway or something.
I think that they may have moved it or something. We
Oh,
don't have
okay.
any papers on him or anything, so.
All right, even
So I
better.
think you're done. Anyway, next year, I'm gonna teach 2 separate engineering classes in the same room at the same time. So that we can continue adding another course without having to lose any, I didn't want to have to lose my elective yet. And I really think I can do, it's so self-guided, I think I can have both groups in the room at the same time without any trouble. Plus, the only kids that'll be able to move on to the second class, I've only got 9 kids in the engineering this year, and a lot of those are seniors. So I'm only gonna have 2 or 3, maybe 4 that go on. So it should be fine. It should be fine. So anyway.
Interesting anyway, it sounds like. So did you help out Kyle quite a bit, or?
Well, I didn't really have to. I thought I would. I thought we'd end up doing it.
Well,
because he was working on it at the beginning every Friday. Because you know we only have class on Friday every other week, so I call them Fiddle Fridays, and they can just use the equipment in the room to do whatever they want to do, you know. And the first couple months he was working on that car pretty hardcore, and I figured we'd be printing parts and stuff in here, but then he pretty well just did it all on his own time. I mean, I don't think we didn't really hardly use any of our resources on it, so yeah, it was really awesome. I finally asked him, I was like, oh, I've got a 3D printer at home. I was like, okay, I was beginning to wonder because we hadn't done it yet.
I'm out of water, so I'm gonna open this up and take a swig.
Okay. Yeah, I had.
I don't think this, nope. Well, what, do you need me to help you do anything else? You got it? Are you sure? I mean, obviously
All
he's
I'm
not
gonna do-
coming.
No. All I'm gonna do
Cassie
is
said it
throw
wasn't
this
on,
up.
oh, here's this.
Yeah, I'll get it.
She
Or
said
you-
it wasn't on the timers thing either. Yep, no, he's not on there either,
Yeah.
so.
Something
They
just
did
changed.
something, yeah.
Obviously a late change probably.
Yeah.
There
Here you go. Oh.
Guess they kind of, what if it's a little where sometimes it's like,
Really?
I'm up here rebuilding those, you know those railroad tie stairs over by the B building?
Yeah.
They had him ripping those off the roof.
Oh, boy.
He was like doing it during the school day.
Frantically trying to put something together.
We got
Oh, I hate to
several-
hear that.
we got several of those this year.
I will say their boards,
Yeah, they look good.
they look as good collectively
Mm-hmm.
as any year that I've seen,
Yeah.
in a long time.
Yep. Well, I think that's, I think Megan has a lot to do with that.
I'm sure. Back in the day, they were phenomenal, but then there was some,
Well,
seemed like a little
everything's
bit of
gonna wax and
lapsing.
wane.
Uh-huh, that's true, that's true.
Some of it is just because it's a saturation, you know,
Yeah, I agree.
when it's new, everybody wants to really put a lot into it, but then it becomes that thing that everybody
And then
wants
sometimes
to
you
do.
get like new blood, like Megan, to kind of, you know,
Yeah,
kind of
revigorate it.
revitalizes, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Exactly.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Fun evening.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it very much. See you, Matt.
See ya.